An incident occurred and the police came. Unfortunately, they only arrested the people that look like us.
As a black woman, why must it be that you're consistently in competition with X?
Not only because I'm good at what I do, but because I look a particular way. I was tall, I'm light-skinned, easy on the eye, and I had big boobs.
You know, you're kind of taking me away from my work, and this is such a headache, and we have to go and babysit you and all of that. I don't need babysitting. I just need somebody who's respected by the structures that we operate in.
Welcome everyone to Sisters in Suits. We are an amazing group of women who celebrate, just put a spotlight on women. And this evening, it's our very first podcast. So to start off, my name is Karabo Fanyeten and I'm the anchor this evening. But this ship I'm not sailing with alone. I've got three gorgeous ladies. They're about to introduce themselves and let you know who we are and what we're here all about.
My name is Koketso Lediga.
And I am Yanela Ntloko.
And I am Zwana Kanechfran.
Lovely ladies. So
Did you introduce yourself?
I did.
Okay,
So in case y'all missed it, it's still Karabo Fanyeten, all right? I'm going to ask Koketso to tell us a little bit about Sisters in Suits. Like, what does it mean? And why are you all not in suits if it's Sisters in Suits?
Exactly. We're
Sisters in Suits podcast.
Yes.
There's Sisters in Suits, the non-profit company. That's where we wear the suits. And the podcast, we get to chill.
Okay, all right.
And drink some drinks.
Podcast and chill.
Well, cling, cling, ladies.
Non-alcoholic, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
For today. At least for me, for today.
So, Koketso, can you tell us a little bit about what is Sisters in Suits? What do we aim to do? What are we about?
So, Sisters in Suits is a non-profit company that was started by women-in-law for women-in-law. We aim to bring women together, to socialize, to learn from each other, and possibly collaborate. I think we all know far too well that everybody's always talking about how there's such great women lawyers, but not enough women lawyers are getting the work. And what we're trying to do is change that, because I think there is a woman with a law degree in all corners of the legal field, and if we come together, we can make sure that work, money, knowledge flows through us, and we're hoping to do that with Sisters in Suits.
I love that. So it's a great initiative for women by women. Yes. So we're going to speak about empowering women, but we're also not going to just do it in like a theoretical pose. We're going to do it as women practitioners in the actual field, developing not just ourselves, but those that come after us. So I want us to talk a little bit about who we are as individuals. We're missing a member.
Yes.
Yeah, she couldn't make it today.
But I want us to talk about who we are in our own individual right, in the legal fraternity, in the legal space. And I want us to talk about why we thought this initiative is an important one to be part of. So like, I'm going to go ahead with you first, and then I'll move on across the room.
So I'm the slightly more non-conventional career path person.
Hey.
Yes.
So that's incredibly important for me, because I think during law school, I kind of only heard the same narrative or the same idea about what a successful legal path looks like. And it was giving very much suits. You know, you graduate top of your class and you go into corporate, and that's kind of the end of the road. And I have not followed that path in any way, shape, or form. I started in human rights law for the first 3 years of my career, clerked at the Constitutional Court, worked at the State Capture Commission.
That's right.
Now I work in ethics and business conduct for a banking group. So it didn't follow that kind of that typical kind of out of law school into a big 5 corporate law firm, and then you're a commercial lawyer and you walk down the hallways like Jessica.
That's right.
Bottoms, you know, that was not my path. So that's what I do. And it was really important for me to join CIS to open up awareness of those alternate paths and routes, and not to make you feel like you just had to go one particular way.
Absolutely, especially for most of us who went to those type of universities that tell us that the only ambition you ought to have is being in the richest square mile in Africa. And if you don't land anywhere there,
You failed.
You haven't made it.
Yeah,
So Zwanaka, you tell a very compelling story, and I think it's an important addition to our sisterhood.
Yeah,
Vanilla
it's very
girl.
important.
Where did
You're
you guys
up
go
next.
to universities? Firstly, why
Babe.
are they telling you these things?
We went to those universities where they're like, you know, the school down the road, because they felt like they were the most important.
Yeah.
It's humbling though, as life would have it.
Progresses.
You would know that experience is quite humbling because it gives you a false sense of security
And superiority.
and superiority. And it's
absolutely
false
superiority.
sense because when you get to the real world, you meet excellence that comes from where? Tell us more about who you are.
Yeah, I'm from the University of the Land.
Yes,
that's UNISA.
queen.
Yay! Really?
Yeah.
Look, I studied through UNISA.
Well represented.
I am from the
Yes.
University of the Land. So, as I said, my name. I followed, I guess, the conventional thing eventually because I'm at the bar. But I started off as a research assistant at the UNISA library. Great
Wow.
time of my life. And then I ended up in the dean's office as their researcher for a whole year.
Wow.
Also. And the best part for me there was the fact that it was just women. The deanery at the time was a black woman. And the deputy dean was a white woman, but they were both women, and that really mattered to me. And so when I applied to go to the Constitutional Court, they were equally there to be like, okay, you know, representation matters. You should apply. If you don't get in, you can always stay. If you do get in, you need to go.
Yeah.
And I applied, I got in, and I then went to the Constitutional Court. I then, of course, went into public interest in some NGO whose name shall not be mentioned by myself.
What are you hiding?
Come on.
I am not hiding
Those are pro bono
anything.
houses. They're meant to be good people.
Exactly. Those are pro bono hours. They were great when they happened, but we shall leave them there. And then I went to the bar.
I
And
love
I've
it.
Been there for like, wow, feels like my whole life at this point.
How long has it been?
Right. I'm in my 8th year.
Crazy. Babe, you're big.
So you're not a baby junior anymore.
I'm in no
You're a
one's
baby
land.
senior.
No,
Junior, senior.
It's
What
in no
is
one's
it?
land,
Is it
to
a
be
junior?
honest.
What is the term?
She's like,
Senior,
she's
junior.
like a
Junior
senior
anymore.
junior.
Junior, senior,
Like we'd
junior.
really consider you as like, if we were to brief you, we'd be like, you don't need a junior.
Yes,
Because you're in that land, although
Or
we'll be
you-
like, you
you-
don't need a senior.
exactly.
Because you're senior.
You're no one's land.
Yeah.
But you're not a junior either.
You're
but
not a junior, you're
yeah.
a complete senior, and people don't know where to place you. You don't know where to place yourself. And for
I
the
know where
first
to place
time-
my rate down.
Per hour, baby. Yeah, born now. Yes.
Come on.
We should have that discussion. I do
I have a
not.
question, right? Do you want? I'm interested in finding out how you ended up studying at UNISA. Like, what's the story there? If there is a story.
There is a story. So I guess then we have to just go back a bit on why I did law. So I went to boarding school in a small Afrikaans town in the Eastern Cape. I do not speak Afrikaans. We should be very clear about this.
Met ace, yeah.
Met ice.
Yeah, unfortunately. Because I was one of those kids who on the first month went and complained to their parents. It was like, I don't understand what they're speaking. You need to go tell them that my classes need to be conducted in English.
Yeah.
And apparently more parents started complaining about it. And so
Wow.
we had English classes in an Afrikaans school to accommodate, well,
English speakers.
there's English, well, technically we're closer speakers. So
But
English was already
in
like
that
a second
context,
language. And so
yeah.
you're like, okay, you can't expect much from me. And so while I was there, an incident occurred and the police came. Unfortunately, they only arrested the people that look like us. For something we had no idea about. Okay, so I played rugby. It was on a rugby thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just
and-
gonna skip over that.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
but continue.
Yeah, we're gonna skip over
We'll
that.
ask questions later.
And so the one person who actually came through for us was this one teacher who was a lawyer by profession who had taken a
Wow.
sabbatical to teach. And we're still quite close to this day. And so I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. But the decision then to go to UNISA was based on, I realized because I did my high school at home,
Yeah.
mostly homeschooled, it just made sense to transition into that. And it was great because I could sleep whenever I wanted to sleep.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lecture that I needed to run to.
Yeah.
It was great, right? It also allowed me to work.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. I don't come from money. So there was a time when the person
nobody
had to
he
work.
come from money. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, nobody.
So had to do a bit of work here
Yeah.
and there.
But our
and
children
yeah.
will.
Oh,
Yes,
in Jesus' name.
our children will.
Per
So
hour.
yeah, that's why I come from the
Mine
University
shall
of the
not know
Land. But I did then do the conventional. What?
My children shall not know money, guys.
What do
my
you
son.
mean?
Ow.
Your children will
We
know money.
rebuke.
We rebuke this
In
statement.
Oh no, I will
Jesus'
have
name.
money. My
Oh.
children will not know money.
May my girl
okay,
know
okay,
all
cool.
the money. I hope she's like,
You
Mama,
need to be specific,
stacks on
child.
stacks.
You need to be
Okay,
specific.
so tell us more about your story.
So I think I'm also, I mean, I took the traditional conventional route at the very beginning.
For like 5 minutes.
True,
Mm-hmm.
true. And then I off-ramped. I graduated from the University of Pretoria, and then I worked at a few of the big firms. Went into an
was that girl.
international.
Yeah.
I mean, but I didn't last for long, guys. So it's also
But
not,
you were there.
Yeah.
You were in.
Yes, and they kept taking me, even though I kept
Yeah.
leaving. Don't advise it. And then went to an international firm, and then while I was there, I actually realized my personality is not one for a big team or a big team within a law firm. So I started my own consulting company. I work in construction, and I saw a gap where the average construction contract is drafted by both lawyers and engineers. And we were always talking to engineers from ACOM or from another consulting firm, never on the same page, never always in the same room. So I thought to myself, why not just merge a consulting engineering company and a law firm together? And that's
Yeah.
exactly, I then added an auditing finance. So I did finance, engineering, and legal. And then, I then was a legal advisor in the energy space all these years. And then recently,
Crazy.
I went from advisor
To?
producer.
Yes!
I'm going to be selling electricity,
I
guys.
love it.
Okay,
But
well,
okay, so you also
what's the
have.
name of the company?
Okay, this is true.
We need to know. You need to be like telling us.
Which one?
Plug us.
That is a very good question.
Self-help.
Yeah.
So the consulting
Self-help.
company is called Infra Africa Consulting or Infra Africa Advisory, depending on which region of the continent we're operating in. And the
We're talking regions now, hey?
Come on.
We're talking continents
Why? Which region?
on.
of the continent,
Yeah.
not of the country.
yes,
Yeah.
I must not even X small.
Yes.
Exactly.
Please
Thank
don't.
you.
Not even.
Thank you.
And then the renewable energy company, we're still new. It's called Lobolela Nuri, which is Sesotho and Osetswana and Swahili, which means
Wow.
light of light.
That's beautiful. Because you also have a very interesting degrees. I remember there was once I'm trying to congratulate my friend. I'm like, oh, yeah, she got a master's in something in law. And she was like, Chumi, I see on.
Yeah, you said
I'm
LM,
like,
and I was like,
Wait, what was it?
MSc.
I was like,
It's a
what?
Masters of Science, guys.
Masters of Science in what?
This is a lawyer that has a master's in science.
So we're
And I was
all
just like,
away from math and science.
No,
Why
but it wasn't like that.
dive
It was technical.
for
So it's like a
yourselves.
thing. Ooh. Did you hear that? That clapback.
Running away from numbers. Speak for yourselves.
Whoa!
babe, I speak for you and I
Now you guys.
1 plus 1 equals our
Please,
please.
When I'm Miss Numbers.
I still love you.
So the same way my industry is made of lawyers and engineers, our degree was exactly that. It was in the UK. It accommodates 40 engineers and 20 lawyers around the world, and it's for engineers and for lawyers. So it's called
Wow.
the Masters in Science, but in construction law.
That is fantastic. I mean, you're like badass for real.
I
Can
really
I
am
say that?
Yes,
Yes.
you can.
Yeah.
It's very multidisciplinary.
I'm girl. You
Yeah.
are all the
I
streets.
almost went back to school to study engineering because I was like, guys, I need to know.
But I guess
all
that's the
areas.
importance
So we
of this.
can't count them in the math
No,
thing.
No, I didn't go because
No,
I don't
but
do
we can't
math. I
count
didn't do
you.
good. I didn't do well in
But you
math.
wanted to go back. I have never in my life.
Can I tell you what's important about where we sit now is that there's someone that can identify with anyone on this table. And I think that's what's so important.
And you need to tell us about
your
your
story.
path.
And so this is why I want to get right into it. I mean, I went to Wits and I'm a proud Witsi as they brew us to be. And we were told that we must make it to the big five.
Yeah.
I did VAC work and ended up making it into one. And that was before my final results came in. And I remember there's one course that trapped me. And then they sent me a kind decline letter after giving me an offer. It was such a humbling moment because I was like, "Nyani, lang reject tang na, lang itse gore ke mang le na." And so I had an amazing lecturer who then lectured me for one of my practical studies at the law clinic, Willem de Klerk, and he's like, "Not to even stop, don't even worry about it. Come work for me. I have a boutique firm." And I didn't quite know what that meant. Because I was leaving the stargazing 5-star.
You knew nothing
Babes, I
in
knew
law
nothing.
school.
Law school taught me that I needed to be in that richest square mile. If
And
I
nothing
wasn't,
else.
I hit below rock bottom. And so I was quite devastated by that. And then Willem said, listen, I still think you're great. Come work for me. And I did.
De Klerk?
Willem de Klerk, yeah. And so he had this very cute boutique law firm. I didn't realize when he said boutique, he actually really meant it would be me and him. But what a fantastic learning
I
experience.
can imagine you got
I
your
mean,
hands dirty. Like,
Willem did not give me a chance to breathe. Like Willem was like, we have these answering affidavit and you need to look over it and you need to know what it means when someone says this in a founding affidavit, and you must respond. And that's the first time I got to really interact with the law. And Willem was meticulous, and he paid so much attention to detail that I'm forever grateful for that skill. And I remembered in my second year, I felt a great sense that I needed to come to the bar. And I'd say to Willem, I love being here and I love your clients, because he had Sexy Matters, you know, the first media case to hear a trial in South Africa. Oscar Pistorius was effectively run by him. Absolutely. So he was part of that. And I got to sit there as this little junior behind counsel that were amazing. And the first time I got to see a black junior do great nyok, or they lead a junior to one of the grades, right?
Yeah, she really is.
And so it was a fantastic experience to be at a boutique law firm. But that made me realize just how close I want to be with the law, and that I wasn't great administratively. And although I loved Willem's clients, I just wasn't the type of person to handhold. And so I knew I wanted to go to the bar.
Are you still not hand-holding?
I'm still not handhold, but nothing requires me to hold my client's hand but to say to them, you have a case or you don't.
Yeah,
and
being an
I
attorney is
leave
a lot
that
of
to the
hand-holding.
attorneys
Yeah.
to sort of do. And so I know the experience of being an attorney, and I know the experience of being counsel, and I can tell you, often than not, people would say to me, Karabo, just wait a couple of years before you go to the bar. And I got to the bar and I realized those are two separate worlds.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
there's nothing about being an attorney that could possibly prepare you to be an advocate.
Really?
And people would say they
No.
did. Look, I think I do understand that there's certain nuances. Like you're gonna build a relationship with clients and you're gonna know. But when you're an advocate, there's nothing about knowing how the filing sheet at the high court there works.
Prepares you. Yeah. No.
You know, it's just you are counsel. You're dealing with the black letter. Yes, one day when you're in unopposed court and your matter's not set down,
Yeah.
and you know the lady downstairs, you can be like, "Show me, get us a favor." But that's not what counsel is about, you know.
Yeah.
And so
The only connector is the theory. Like
It's
what
the
you learned in
theory.
law school.
Yeah.
That's also when the other person says filing affidavit and you say answering affidavit, you both
100%.
understand what you're talking about.
we got you.
But the actual process where you come into
on.
it, what
I love how you're not at the bar, but you know this.
I've hung out with enough
Yeah.
advocates.
To
I would
know.
say
Enough
more than
being
enough,
shared.
and more than enough advocates.
To know.
To
But I
see.
also think
Yeah.
that what we've done today is we've brought such a beautiful view of the legal fraternity that we can each speak to it at a different angle.
Yeah.
And so I want us, having known who exactly we are here at the table, to take the conversation along a little bit.
Sorry, can I just say
Yeah.
something? I mean, the one person that we're missing is our actual attorney who started and still is at
Big
the
Five.
Big Five firms.
Ouch.
And she would have been a great addition to like.
But she's
kinda-
coming.
Don't
she's
worry. Yeah, don't
coming.
worry
She's
about it.
coming.
She'll be
She's
here.
coming.
She's coming.
Okay. Sorry for
and
interrupting you.
No, that's fantastic. I think that's important. The point is, again, that we are very different
Yeah.
and we know
Yeah.
we know the legal space in its different forms.
Yeah.
But there are also very cool areas of overlap because Yanela and I both worked in public interest. We both clerked. You and I both went to this.
Absolutely.
Me and you know each other from outside of the podcast and
Yeah.
outside of
Both
CIS.
her and I did articles.
Oh,
Yeah.
the two of you. Did you do articles together?
No, she didn't come to film declare. It was just film and
Remember?
I.
Oh, okay. Both your articles. Yeah.
Articles at Big Firm, hey.
I did.
Yeah,
I did them at an NGO.
I did not. I was an academic, technically.
Yes.
That's
you are.
fantastic.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
are. But then CD did like the you
full
know,
straight.
Yeah.
you
Full
do your
straight.
LLB, you finish your
Damn.
LLB, you finish at the upper end of your class. You go to a Big Five. Then she took like some time out to go to the Concord,
Concord, yeah.
and then went back, and now she's still in Big
And
Law.
she's happy.
And that part has
Wow.
worked out brilliantly
Beautifully
for her.
for
Yeah,
her.
brilliant for her.
But just so that, it's advocate,
Yeah.
entrepreneur, advocate, in-house legal.
Lawyer, just lawyer.
Law-
Just
Lawyer.
the person with an LLB degree.
Right.
Oh.
Got you.
Just
Okay.
And with all of that, guys, I want to take the conversation along. I want us to talk about women in law in our particular field and discipline and how we feel women are represented or not and what we think our role is as sisters in suits and where we can take that. So I'm going to start with Yanela for now so we can
Yeah, throw me
run
in the
it.
deep
I'm
end.
sorry,
Yeah, I'm
but,
like
but you know what?
you.
I
That's a
got you.
heavy
So
one.
if you feel like this, it's a heavier conversation, just throw it to me.
No worries. So I'm actually just going to speak about one particular area of the
Yeah.
law, which is the one area I think. So just to backtrack, I did a whole master's in this particular area.
Wow.
But notwithstanding that, I
Which
have
area is
not
this?
competition.
Okay.
Hence, my numbers are not necessarily a problem.
Ooh.
No, I love numbers. I genuinely do. But what you see is that there is a lot of women advocates. And I'm going to just speak about advocates. I'm not going to speak about attorneys because I don't know what happens behind those closed doors, right? So there's a lot of women advocates and there's a lot of qualified, brilliant women advocates. But they don't get the same opportunities as their white counterparts, whether their counterparts are a white woman or white man, and most especially white man, right? So what you find is there are some who would be, I don't even want to call it luck because they are deserving to be on those briefs, right? But so they will have the few opportunities to be on those particular briefs, but not enough to ever say, I'm just a competition lawyer, right? Or I do competition law or I do construction law. Notwithstanding the fact that you have, because you know how they gatekeep, they'll be like, no, but you don't have the knowledge.
Yeah.
I do. I have a master's in it from Cambridge. What else do you want from me?
That's right.
And then you're like, well, you don't have the experience. Actually, no, I do because I have one of the first cases in healthcare in competition.
Come
so
on.
what experience are we looking for?
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's one of the things that we need to have frank conversations about. Because what also happens is that you meet attorneys and they say, well, you know, we normally brief the senior and the senior is the one that decides the junior.
And the senior will say it's the attorney who told them
Exactly.
to
And
bring
so there's
X.
always a back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
So if we now have this ecosystem, we can, because there is a relationship with those particular attorneys, you could say, well, you know, let me just say, if Kokezo was still on one of the big five, hey, Kay, I see that in most of your matters, you don't have any women. What's happening? You can have that frank conversation now because the ecosystem has been created. And so then the frank conversation happens so you don't get secondhand information from either an attorney you have no relationship
That's
with
so good.
or an advocate who is just, you know,
Gatekeeping.
and wants to get rid of you like immediately, like go away.
Yeah.
You know? So it's that. And I think it's the same thing with maritime. And this one judges me very much. Because I'm also doing a master's in that.
What?
Yeah, because you don't get tired.
Yeah.
I want to judge.
Or you saw the value of your first master's.
No,
and
the
you're
first
like,
one was right. She doesn't get tired. No, you are very.
and you saw the value of your first master's.
Yeah,
which
because
it
now
got-
I can
it gave
actually
you all these briefs.
I
Yeah.
wish it was all these briefs.
Really?
Right.
So when you were talking about how they were saying you don't have the knowledge and you don't have the experience, you were talking about yourself.
Yes.
You're the one who was at the commission and with the master's degree.
I am the one with the master's degree. There is another junior on a matter. I will not be naming names. Then I'm told, oh, this person has experience. And I'm thinking, what experience does this person really have? Because this is their second competition brief. This is my fifth competition brief.
As a black woman, why must it be that you're consistently in competition with X? It can never be that there's enough work for all of us.
Yeah.
It's that
and
my
there is
starting line
It's
is
always that.
I'm now in competition with X.
That's what they do, though.
Yeah.
They love pitting us against each other.
Apart from, no, it's never black women, though. That's the thing.
100%.
It's never a pitting of black women. It won't be, no, Garabo is on the brief and whatnot. No, it will, or if it's put as Garabo's on the brief, it's like, we have a black woman on the brief. So it's not pitting me against Garabo. There will be another person who does not look like us, who has a different gender to us, who has a different, you know, upbringing to us, all of us. And that would be the person you are being, you have to now justify your presence versus their presence type of thing. And it's tiring. It really is. I think I got tired of it in my fourth year and I stopped. I was just like, you know what? If the brief comes, great. If it does not, that's it. And so that's basically what happens. So you always on that. And I mean, I thought, because I had this discussion, I won't be mentioning names because I didn't get permission from this. I always thought that it gets better as the more senior you are.
It
No,
doesn't.
they still railroad you in your
Come on.
with a whole, you know, like people have senior counsel behind their names.
Yeah.
And you think that carries weight.
No, they still get railroaded and still for the white boys club.
Yeah, I've seen that.
On railroads, because you said something about construction, I felt like that was a great link. Tell us about your experience.
Oh no, I don't have a view on it.
On
'Cause
women?
No,
On
but
women
not
in your
women
field?
because because of the way my journey and career has been set up, I haven't worked in the South African legal space in a
Okay.
while, so I don't really. All
My
I
queen
know
is
is
international,
secondhand
like
information.
regional.
Yeah, like I'm.
Yeah.
I'm in other parts of the continent and not even in SADC anymore.
Excuse, did you
But
guys
how's
get
the
that?
treatment there as a
Can I
woman?
tell you, I found it so much easier to find sponsors and not sponsors like that, but
Not the
sponsors
blesser.
professionally.
Yeah.
Outside of the region, I have a sponsor in East Africa. I have a sponsor in Central Africa. I have a sponsor in West Africa. People are more willing to bring you in and not bring. So they won't, especially in that part of the world, everything moves fast. They're just like, I'm not going to handhold you, but I'm going to get you in a room. And what you make of that
Wow.
situation, that's your
Wow.
own. Yeah,
That's so cool.
that's why I was able to leave an international firm and still be able to land on my feet. I'm great, but it was because somebody was like, I'm going to literally walk in with you in there in the
Yeah.
room and say, this is my person, and I'm going to keep quiet. And then
Wow.
you then get to take over.
I want to get
wow.
back to this because I think that's so phenomenal, but that's
Yeah.
going to run over my second question. And I want to get Zonaka's view on women in her field and what it means to be a Black woman in your industry.
So I think I don't really have an industry. It's very weird. But I have seen the gamut of treatment. I think when I was in social justice, the worst thing was you go in there when you're very young, you're Black, and you're operating in a variety of spaces, but patriarchy will patriarch. And so you will often get to, a building somewhere or a community somewhere that's been displaced. And there's a hierarchy, kind of that type of thing at the top. And trying to get those clients to listen to you is very, very difficult. Also, trying to do your job is also difficult because your job sometimes happens at night.
Yeah.
Your job sometimes happens in places that don't have electricity, so it's dark.
Damn.
So now you're sitting there thinking, okay, I want to go into this building. I need to consult with my clients. We have an urgent going on, but it's dangerous and I can't go there by myself. So now you need to go with somebody else, right? And so sometimes the gentleman in your team will be like, but you're kind of taking me away from my work and this is such a headache and we have to go and babysit you and all of that. I don't need babysitting. I just need somebody who's respected by the structures that we operate in. And I can't forget those types of realities.
That's
and
so
things,
important.
that work. 'Cause there's no room to be naive, and be like, oh, I want to live in this idealized world. You won't get hurt.
Yes.
So you're like, no.
I heard very bad.
Well, if
Or
this is
dead.
if these are the rules of the game and I need to do my job and I need to
Yeah.
get these affidavits out, then we'll do that. There aren't a lot of women. When I started, there weren't a lot of women. I think all the major NGOs were led by either men or white women. And it was interesting because the places and spaces they worked in were very Black. With issues affecting mostly Black people, mostly Black communities. You're talking about buildings in the inner city, you're talking about rural land and all those types of things. And you constantly have to go there and your boss doesn't speak the language.
Come on.
So you're taking personal circumstances and affidavits and taking instructions and translating all at once and all at the same time. And also trying to navigate cultural norms like, can you be talking to the gentleman face to face or must you allow your male senior or colleague, to talk to them, even though he doesn't that whole type of thing.
Yeah.
But increasingly now, social justice has really tried to kind of front or to push Black women forward.
Yeah.
Whether or not the funding structures still respect them. So it's one thing to put her in a position of power.
Yeah.
It's another thing to get the outside environment to respect that
Buy
power
into
the
it.
same
love
way
that.
they respected the power of her predecessor who was perhaps a different color and perhaps a different gender. So if you look at most of the social justice sector, you will see being led by many Black women. But whether or not they have the same access, the same respect, the same resources, the same support is a little bit different. In corporate is corporate, hey? Like,
Is a
And
corporate
everyone corporate.
baddie.
yeah, no, corporate be corporate.
Yeah.
But does a corporate for us equally?
It doesn't. It doesn't. I think I've been lucky-ish. In the
There's
sense
no
that
such thing as luck for a Black girl. I always say.
no,
There's no such thing as luck for a
You
Black
work.
girl.
It's
babe.
overworked.
but I think the most brilliant women in my space
Yeah.
have been Black.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so I've kind of the specific kind of area that I operate in.
Yeah.
The ones who are carrying the whips and umteto
Yeah.
are more overwhelmingly Black women. So the support net has been really
Beautiful.
awesome for me. So that's the type of luck I'm talking about.
Okay,
not
that
the
makes
luck
sense.
of getting in and operating.
And I want to get into that. I want to piggyback on what you said, and I want to piggyback on what Goketa said. I think we've highlighted the I guess systematic woes of the profession as relates to women. I know specifically when it comes to my profession, there's this low attrition rate where we can get all these amazing women in, and then they sit there, and then because of just the way our white gentleman club is set up, it's just not made for us. And so we consistently have to rehydrate our women to take up space. And it's such an exhausting experience to share, but I can only imagine how exhausting it is for the women to be reminded to take up space in an environment that is so limiting for to even just take up who they are. And so we have this amazing report by CALS that tells us about the attrition rate at the bar. And they'll give us like quite clear stats to say women in the bar are not likely to make it from 0 to whatever year. And if you make it after 5 years, you're likely to make it. But it's like, in what conditions are women making it in? And
what condition are they in when they get to year 5?
Exactly. And what have you really done to break down the black woman's spirit about being in the law? It's almost as if you have to fend for yourself, as in like everything about you must be negotiated. You must be negotiated into a brief. And if you're not, we must go chastise Advocate X because he's got 7 white people and not you. And it's like, everything seems like such a precious thing to acquire, and that it's not owned to you, even though we're reminded that why there's justice system in Africa specific was made for people who look like us. And yet we don't speak from voices of people that we represent. So it's really an identity crisis in a white man's club. But what I want to piggyback on, Zwanaka and Kokette, is you guys both mentioned how lucky you are to be in the light of people, of black women that are really holding the whip. And you're saying men have given you access to an industry, but they say you make with this opportunity.
Can I also just give context to that, right? I also realized that those opportunities could come to my way, not only because I'm good at what I do, but because I look a particular way.
Pretty her.
I mean, light skin also helps. It really, I'm not gonna lie. It especially when you're from the southern part of the country.
That is a very big conversation you're bringing.
Come on.
Yes.
Pretty her. We are pretty her.
Like-
Pretty privilege. That's what you've got.
And
But
the
it's
brown
not
skin
true.
girl.
I
Brown skin girl.
You better shush because
that's the correct Beyonce
that's
song.
true.
Brown
Brown
skin girl.
skin girl.
Guys, I was tall, I'm light skinned, easy on the eye, and I had big boobs.
Yeah. So
You
it was
know?
appealing.
And I was like good at what I do. So why wouldn't you want to bring her? Like, I remember
100%.
even the first year, some of my sponsors and some of my clients were like, we'll pay.
Wow.
We want, you need to come to a meeting with us. We'll bring you there. You don't have to pay yourself an invoice. No.
Yeah.
We got
want you
covered.
and I knew that
But-
it was.
But Kokette, I
Very
mean,
privileged.
this is your lived reality,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
This is, you're saying, like, this worked for me.
It really did.
I want us to talk about a little more about what we're experiencing in our end, where we have all these women initiatives. They'll say, Karabo, let's go for a networking opportunity. XYZ firm has, and it's specifically tailored for you black females. And so we're coming here to transform the field, but would you just join us for this black woman networking opportunities? I'm sure you've had a few of those
I
in your
don't like
experience.
those because how are we transforming an already a room filled with black people?
Yeah.
Where exactly is the transformation?
Yeah.
We need to be meeting with those that don't look like us.
Yeah.
And that's where the networking and the real work needs to be done. But us gathering in a room where we all look alike
Come
and
on.
talking about our shared lived experiences.
It's an
and
echo
problems
chamber.
It's an
it's
echo
not taking us
chamber.
anywhere.
Tiring.
But how far does talking about the situation ever take us?
Tiring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not very far, which is why we
Yeah.
are doing this, which is why we're here, because
Yes.
we're tired of
Can I
talking.
also
tired.
talk about our solutions?
Yes.
And then, like you spoke
Tired.
about how some attorneys are always saying they either don't know you or don't know where to find the advocate.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I've been asking around and I'm looking for a black woman who is good in competition, but I don't find them. Sis has come up with the solution.
Tell us
so
more.
we are developing a directory, basically a Google for women with law degrees. So attorneys can't not say that they can't find a woman
In this
competition.
in competition who has done a case in healthcare, because
Yeah.
our directory is going to be so specific that you can even search a woman who has experience in the SCA.
So where do we access this directory?
Details are
It's
going
still
to come.
being
It's
Details
still
to
being
come.
built.
Okay.
Yes,
And so let's talk about mentorship
yes.
as well. How effective do you think mentorship
I think
goes?
mentorships doesn't help. Sponsorship helps.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
put your
I
money
agree with this.
Where your mouth
where
Where
your
your
mouth
mouth
is.
is.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how much like we can talk all day. And
You can
you're
lecture me
mentoring
all
And you can
day.
have access to me.
Yes, but that doesn't pay my bills.
Sorry.
It really doesn't pay my bills. I need to pay a chamber. So sponsorship is probably like the best thing. And sponsorship sometimes is not the person bringing you into the brief.
Yeah.
It is speaking to you, to someone else to say, when you're thinking of a junior, please use so-and-so.
And
That's
I'm not available.
sponsorship.
This is my person.
That's sponsorship. And we see it all the time. I think we see it a lot at the bar. It happens quite a lot, but it just doesn't happen to people who look like us.
Yeah.
Ladies, it was very nice talking to you.
It was amazing.
But we have run out of time.
I did not think we could talk this much.
Right?
I was so
And I
nervous.
feel like we
I
need
was
more
so
time.
We do.
But this was a great first initiative. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. Sisters in Suits, next time we won't come in suits. But remember, sponsor the black girl if you want to see true transformation.
Yes.
The money.
Not just mentorship, actual sponsor, not lecturing.
Yeah.
Actual sponsor. Put your money where your mouth is.
Get me in that room.
Exactly.
That's
It is
right.
so real hanging out with all of you.
It was very nice.
Very
I
much
want
fun.
to shimmy.
Thank you so much.